Hello readers, welcome back to PJL Books and welcome to today's showcase. Now, today's showcase is a perfect example of the fact that novels don't exist in a bubble. They can be informed, inspired, and complement one another. Not that this author needs that, mind you. This author has an avid fan base that will follow him wherever he goes, be it writing for TV, for movies, for comic books, and yes, novels. This is Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. So here's an interesting story for you. London, last week's showcase, was written over 10 years after Neverwhere came to be. Neverwhere was actually a TV show at first, but this novelization went on to have much more success. So I read Neverwhere back in 2008-9, I think, followed a few years later by London. But it was pure coincidence that I ended up reading both. When I picked up China Mayville's novel, I had no idea that London had been heavily inspired by Neverwhere. Both of them center around this idea of an other London, a warped mirror image of the English capital city. And just like London, Neverwhere constructs its dark tale with expertise, perhaps even more so. So, here's the story. Richard Mayhew, having recently moved to London, is as normal gets. He works, he lives, he loves. But after helping out a girl on the street, he finds that his simple act of kindness turns his life upside down. Mysteriously, he seems to be invisible. Nobody at work responds to him, and strangers are moving into his apartment. The girl, called Door, and a host of other wild, weird, and sinister characters seep into Richard's life, plunging him into London Below, a place between the cracks of reality where angels and monks roam. Knightsbridge is an actual bridge guarded by knights, and folk worship rats. While I love London just as much as Neverwhere, I must concede that Neverwhere is the more accomplished and impactful of the two. For one, I would dock London points for being a bit of a roller coaster that doesn't stop and take a breath more than it should. Now, Neverwhere also hurtles along at breakneck speed. However, that fast pace works in Neverwhere's favour because it really makes you empathise with Richard, who is just as bewildered by it all, along with the reader. This makes Richard's growth throughout the story and his growing confidence in the world of London Below that much more satisfying because of it. Which brings me neatly on to the second reason, characters. Whereas I felt the characters in London were a bit flat and served mainly as a vehicle to push through the plot, a most excellent plot mind you, Neverwhere's characters really carry the story. As eccentric as Door and the Marquis may be at first, there's a real sense of history and meaningful motives to these people, and whenever I recall my time with Neverwhere, it's usually the characters that first jump to my mind. But again, Neverwhere's greatest strength is the same as London, the atmosphere. You can almost smell this dark, grungy London Below, such is Gaiman's skill at evoking a mood. And Gaiman sometimes swings for the very dark indeed, but it never feels cheap or hacked on though. The grotesque feels in place, appropriate, and well earned. Neverwhere is a fantastic book. Remarkable really, considering that it was still fairly early in Gaiman's career at that point. His enthusiastic fan base is absolutely justified. And that's it for today's showcase. Thank you very much for listening, readers. The link for this book where you'll be able to purchase it will be in the description below, along with all the links to my websites and blogs, so please check them out. Thank you very much for listening, readers, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.